Hello, everyone, and welcome to Vibration, where I empower individuals to speak their distinct truth, passions, and personal message on a global online stage. I'm your host, Michelle McDonald, passionate author, entrepreneur, and speaker. I am elated to be celebrating multiple firsts here on the Vibration stage. The top one is we have our very first nurse guest who I'm so excited to get into. You can already see her energy radiating off of the screen. She has so much to share and a lot of things that you may or may not know about nursing, and it's going to be a very engaging conversation. Secondly, we are actually streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. So, this is the first time that we are on multiple streams, and it is a very important topic to be talking about. So, a special hello to my Facebook and YouTube subscribers and audience tonight. I am so happy to welcome those from YouTube onto the stage to listen in. This is truly something to be a part of. So if you haven't heard, this is Nurses Week, starting May 6th through 12th, an extraordinary time to really recognize the nurses in our lives and throughout our country. And of course, for the entire month of May, you have permission to celebrate each and every one of them because it is also Nurses Month. So if you have a special nurse, do a shout out, send a special gift. Let them know that you care because at the end of the day, nurses are a very critical aspect of our healthcare industry. So we have to honor them and celebrate them. So our topic tonight is cultural competencies and sensitivities in nursing with our guest, Nurse Natasha Ruffin-Dean, who began her work in healthcare when she was voluntold by her dad at the age of 19 that she was to assist with Creole translations for the medical professionals at the AIDS Secretariat. This stirred a passion in her that has continued up to this day. She currently holds a bachelor's in science degree in nursing from the University of the Bahamas. She is a member of the Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, where she currently serves as the director for elder care for the Theta Epsilon Zeta graduate chapter. She also finds time to volunteer with cancer awareness activities as homage to persons she lost to cancer, including her mom. Natasha has been awarded locally by various organizations for her volunteer work with young persons, immigrants, and persons living with HIV or AIDS. She was one of the healthcare workers who received an audience with royalty in March 2022 here in the Bahamas with the Prince William and Princess Catherine of Wales for her work with COVID, including volunteering during the very first wave of this pandemic. Her passion is nursing, and she is currently deployed at the Sandilands Rehabilitation Center on the Podlueski ward. Natasha loves reading, writing, cooking, hiking, camping, and traveling. She also loves learning languages as she is bilingual and is currently learning Mandarin, French, Spanish, and Italian. She is an active member of her church and volunteers with the Pathfinders as a counselor and the club nurse. She is a mother of two beautiful children, Liam and Ariana. Nurse Natasha Dean, welcome to the stage tonight.
Hi.
So, we've already heard so much about you, just a glimpse of your accolades, the work that you've continued to do on a massive scale when it comes to nursing, caring for others, and volunteering. What has been your journey to nursing, and what continues to motivate you throughout this field?
My favorite quote by Maya Angelou says that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So my entire journey, my entire process to becoming a nurse has always been about making sure the persons who are around me know and feel how much I care for them. Like that is definitely a part of who I am. I, like you said earlier, my dad literally told me that I was to volunteer my services for free at 19. And I was like, what? But it took me on a path that I didn't expect because if you had asked me in high school, I'd have never told you I wanted to be a nurse, a doctor, nothing in medical. I didn't go into nursing then. I volunteered for quite a few years. I got an award from the then US ambassador for my work. I did peer education. I had fun. I literally had fun. And I realized that I love the work that healthcare workers, particularly nurses, do. I kept saying I was going to go back to school, get my nursing degree, and then one day it hit me. You keep saying that the time is going, time is going to go whether you're doing it or not. So I went back, I bit the bullet. It was very rough because I was working full time, had two very young kids, and all kinds of other commitments. But um, through God's grace, I made it. I graduated with honors. I found that I had a passion for nursing and for actually not just nursing, but nursing education. So now, as a nurse, I also volunteer with public schools, private schools, schools in general, to come in and talk to the kids. I talk about hygiene, puberty, bullying, whatever topic the kids need to be talked to about. I come in and I speak on it. I also work closely with nursing cadets. I love working with them, like to actually see that these are the future nurses. We're talking and we're dealing with them in high school. It's a lot of fun for me. I also, particularly on the unit I was on before, I was very hands-on with the nursing interns from the University of Bahamas. In fact, because I was so hands-on with them, they nominated me for an award that I'm going to receive in about 2 weeks for my assistance in their journey. And so that would be a little bit about me and how I got to nursing. Nursing was not my original career path. That was nothing. It was nowhere near what I thought I wanted to do with my life. But my dad, through his friend, a church friend, took me on a path that I could not even imagine. So my next step would probably be to get my master's and then my PhD in nursing education, and go and return to tertiary education and work as a lecturer. So yeah.
Awesome. So, of course, congratulations on your upcoming award. We look forward to hearing more about that. We support the work that you're doing. It's amazing. It's no surprise that you're going to be going back into teaching because you have mentioned kids, children, youth multiple times. So, it's definitely in your blood and something that you enjoy being a part of. One of the things that I really appreciated about what you said is that you found working in the healthcare industry or being connected to it fun. And most persons just think about the reading, the dedication of hours. They just think about it from a time perspective. So I really like how you brought in that enjoyment aspect of it, that you can truly find fun and pleasure and passion in healthcare instead of kind of feeling like you're just going to be overwhelmed. Because when we think about it, we only continue to do the things that we enjoy. So it's important that it's a part of that.
Yeah, I do think that for me at least, I feel like your career, we spend so much time working on our careers that it should be something that you have a passion for, that you enjoy. And for me, meeting persons from different walks of life, particularly since I work in mental health, helping them to deal with crisis and work their way through it, it adds such an enrichment to my life. Like even when I feel tired, I'll drag myself out of bed, come to work because hey, I'm not really just doing it for me. I'm doing it for my patients. It feels like I am doing something higher than me. Like it is not just about me in this instance. It's about how what I do enriches their lives. And if I don't show up to work to like bring that energy, that zest, that zeal, that care, where they're gonna get it from? I'm sure that I know I work with a lot of really wonderful nurses, but there's only one Natasha, and I'm sure my patients enjoy seeing me, and even the kids I work with, they enjoy the time they get with me. Like even with my pathfinders, like that's volunteer, completely volunteer. And when I do get to work with them, it's completely awesome. I enjoy every moment. I mean, I'm a little strict, but hey, they even enjoy the strictness because they just need that little discipline, you know?
Exactly. Gotta have structure.
Yes.
Another thing that I really appreciated was you mentioning working with the nursing cadets and the joy that brought to you because you knew that they were the future of nursing. With the theme of Nurses Month being our nurses, our future, it really connects and shows the importance of giving back, but also putting yourself into the generations to come. Can you tell us more about that experience?
Okay, I'm relatively new to that program, but from the first group that I got, I realized that they are so passionate, like they're so excited. Like I had some kids that came and they'd already completed their entire checklist. And I was like, well, you already complete your checklist. What are we going to do today? And they're like, oh, we want to do this. We want to do that. And they wanted to go back over some of the skills they'd already
Excited.
done. And I'm there like, oh, I love this. I love your energy. Like just to see that they're passionate already, that they're interested already. And they're like, listen, Nurse Ruffin, I need to know. I need to experience this now so I can make sure that when I come back and go off to school, I know what it is that I want to do. I know that this is the path that's for me. And I love their enthusiasm. I have some who would come and be like, there was actually a few of them that asked, hey, how is it that I could volunteer with Stanlin's? Like, because we normally do it in geriatrics. And they're like, I want to come back. I want to volunteer. And I love seeing that because it's the enthusiasm is so fresh. They're not worn out. They're not burnt out. Like they're not seeing the fights, the background fights that every career has. Like they're not seeing the issues. They're just looking at it and they're like, oh my God, this is awesome. I can't wait to do this full time. And I want them to have that attitude. I want our future nurses to be with that same kind of attitude. Like, and that's why I want to go into nursing education. I want to ensure that the next group of nurses come up with that same attitude. They come up with that same like joie de vivre. Like they just want to do more for like not just nursing, but for our patients, for the future. So it's like the theme is our nurses, our future. It's what it is we're looking at all the lessons we learned during the pandemic of
Mm,
COVID-19. And we're
okay.
looking at the fact that, hey, it was our nurses that really, really pushed this pandemic, like really worked it, like literally had everybody's backs. So they are literally our future. If something else
Mhm.
happens that's catastrophic, it's our nurses. And if we think about it, whenever we have catastrophic events, it's the nurses we're calling to come in and assist, either medically, come in to counsel. Like nurses
Yes.
do it all. Like we're not just sitting at the bedside. Like we're out there in the field. We're out there in the communities taking care of persons with debilitating diseases, going looking for persons who've defaulted from clinic. Like we do so much. And our nurses really are the future of our country. Because if we don't have health, like what is it that we're gonna have? We're just gonna have a sick country that cannot produce. And we need to produce. So that's how I look at it, working with my nursing cadets and even working with the nursing interns.
That is beautiful. I appreciate you bringing clarification to that. And certainly, so many of us can remember, especially here in the Bahamas, when there were only essential workers being allowed
So,
to go into their spaces during the COVID-19 pandemic. Pressure was tall, demand was high, and no matter what, you all worked double shifts there every day doing what you had to do to see us through to this point and onward. And, touching on the pandemic and everything that the nurses went through, there is the aspect of mental health. It's something that a lot of us got a spotlight on during the start of COVID-19 and within the first 2 years, because not only was it happening with us being separated from our offices, having to work remotely, not seeing the family and friends that we were used to, having those persons who would normally refill our cups at the end of the day being much more than an arm's length away. Those who were suffering or who had experienced this on a much wider scale were our nurses. Their mental health was certainly impacted. And I just wanted to know, what was that experience like? Or how can you describe what it was like for the nurses to go through that? And also, have there been any changes towards supporting them in this light?
I know I can go with my own experience. It was rough. Um, in fact, when COVID came about, I had literally just sat and passed my nursing council exams. So I just gotten my license. The ink wasn't even dry
You're
yet.
on a high, everything's
Um,
good.
Here comes COVID-19. Bam! Like,
Mm,
I already had plans for what I was gonna do in my first year. I had planned to um, to my NCLEX, to my GREs, to all of the things I needed for grad school, because I planned that within the first 2 years of nursing, I would go off and do my PhD. And here comes COVID, and it's like, wow, I have an awesome mentor, Marley Martinville.
shout
She
out.
came to me and she was like, Tasha, they're asking for volunteers. And I was like, sister, I know about this. This is COVID. I don't even know about this disease. She said, come on, we'll do the training and whatever, whatever. So I went along and I signed up. Then when the first case came, they called and said, Natasha, are you willing? And I was like scared. And I was like, yeah, they didn't need me during the first case. Thank you, Jesus. But later on, they did call me back and asked me to come. And I had to move from Sandlands, where I had been working, to PMH. And it was difficult. Like, when I say
Yes.
it was a adjustment for me, it was an adjustment for me. Like, not just it felt, you felt lonely a lot. Like, yeah, you use social media and everybody was getting off on statuses about the lockdowns, but it was rough
Mhm.
because there'd be many days I'd have to drive to work by myself when normally I was used to being me and my family driving, doing drop offs, pickups, or I'd be on the road in the night coming from work in the road looking like a ghost town. Like,
Oh,
it
yeah.
I had friends, because they know I work in mental health, would call me and say, hey, Tosh, I just need someone to talk to. So
Yes.
I'd be there talking, counseling. A lot of persons I knew started to develop anxieties. Persons who never had anxieties before the lockdowns triggered it, because we're such, like, particularly if you're like me, who's a type A person, you're always going, 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 going.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
you can't just go, 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 go. And it was rough, like mentally for a lot of persons. So we had to develop coping skills. Like, you had to learn ways to counteract your anxieties. You had to learn ways to keep in contact and connections with your families and friends, particularly if you live by yourself. There are a lot of persons who live by themselves. So during the lockdowns, they was home by themselves. Nobody there with them. Like, I remember that year for my birthday, the lockdowns was lifted for a little bit, right? So I planned
Just a
this
little.
huge birthday party, because I hadn't ever planned a birthday party before. But after COVID, I was like, listen, I turned 35 this year. We're gonna have a party. We had, like, we
Hello.
rented out an Airbnb. All of my closest friends came. We cooked. We had the cake, and it just lifted me. So like I realized, or I learned to realize that it's not just about work, it's not just about career, it's not just about school. You actually need to ensure that your social life is still very much so a part, like a pertinent part of your life. Because sometimes we just go and go and go and go and we forget to rest, we forget to relax, we forget to enjoy our families, we forget to enjoy our friends. And then when all of this personal loved ones is like either COVID, cancer, something. It was just every time I turned around, I felt like I had another friend that I had to support through a funeral. And then because the funerals were so closed off, it
Yeah.
wasn't like you could like go and be there supportive. But really and truthfully, the lessons I learned is that mental health is so important. And particularly since this month is mental health awareness, the
Mm-hmm.
theme for Mental Health Awareness Month is back to basics. So we have to go back to basics. Yes, we
Yes.
have all this wonderful technology, but the basics of our mental health, really and truthfully, comes with the connections we have with each other, with individuals present in our lives. So picking up that phone and calling your friend, picking up the phone and scheduling a lunch date, a brunch date. Like I just like
Mm-hmm.
all nursing school, my friends used to be like, "Hey, let's go out." Child, I can't go. I gotta study. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. But after COVID, it's like, listen, I'm a fit you in because I realize that all of this plays a part of it. And
Yeah.
I realized that particularly after COVID, a lot of persons have started to appreciate mental health more. A lot of institutions have started to appreciate mental health more. I know with my
Mm.
institution, there's currently plans, and they're working on actually creating like it's like a hotline type thing
Oh,
where persons can
nice.
call. Yes, it's like a staff. I can't remember what they call it, like almost like an employee something with health. I can't remember the right name. Don't kill me, people. I don't remember the thing. I just know that we have something where we're gonna put in place that hey, when our staff are not feeling well, they can call. When they need help or assistance, I think it's called an employee assistance program, similar to what I had when I used to work at Atlantis. Yes, I was in hospitality for a time too, but where you could just call and let them know what's going on and you actually talk to someone and it's confidential. Like knowing that our employees, knowing that our staff, our nurses need it. Like I ain't gonna lie, I just go see a therapist every month, and that's just for me because I wanna make sure I'm on the right track, make sure
Mm-hmm.
I am consistently achieving my goals, and at the same time make sure I ain't overstressing myself. So when I talk to Dr. Wayne Thompson and I say, Dr. Thompson, this is ABC, he be like, Natasha, let's look at this, let's look at that. And it's like, you know what? I need that. I need that counselor. And then, like I said before, my mentor, I always call her. I be like, sister, this is what's happening. What you think? And she be like, I know, but that one. Let's check this out. And like all of these things have come about, and I feel like I've become a stronger person, not just physically since COVID-19, but mentally because I'm taking the time to actually make me a focus and make me
Yes.
being happy a focus. So even in terms of my career, making sure the things I'm doing at work are things that enrich me, things that I love. Like I'm not just coming here to work 8 hours and go home. I need to make sure that at the end of the day, whatever legacy I leave is powerful.
I love that. Being very intentional, purposeful. And the thing is, that is a part of who we are, how we want to live our lives, how we want to be remembered. One of the things that I want to applaud you for is that in the midst of the pandemic, in the midst of battling with your own mental health, finding that balance, you still found the time to help others. As a nurse, you understood what they were going through, you empathized with them, but most importantly, you gave a listening ear. And that is not something that a lot of persons are able to do. They can barely do it for themselves, yet you offered yourself to those other nurses. I know that they are eternally grateful to you for that. But I just wanted to applaud you because it takes bravery, it takes strength, and you chose to do that for those you love.
Yes.
Another aspect is for mental health awareness. You mentioned back to basics. This is something that is so key to the world we have today. It is so digitized. We are used to not having that one on one interaction, like in person. We are so used to being in a digital space. So we forget about the values of a phone call, of hugs, shaking hands, smiling. Like it really makes a difference at the end of the day. And so I think that that theme is absolutely spot on.
It definitely is. I definitely think a lot of times we're just so used to the digital age and the future of it that we forget that there are a lot of things that we cannot leave behind. We can't lose human contact. We can't lose connections. Like those are things that are very, very much so a part of who we are, like, and that's a part of what we need for our mental health, just to go back to basics. Like for some persons it may just be to cut back on the amount of time you spend on social media, like, or
Hmm.
even with social media, just making it simply about your friends and not worrying about what the world is telling you, you know what I mean? So like
Hmm.
figuring it out, that's basically how I look at it.
Definitely. I agree. So we have a special comment from Britt J. Robb saying, I am eternally grateful for having Natasha as a friend. We can only imagine the memories you all create together, and of course, the support that you give her.
Hi, Brittany.
Thanks for
Hi, Rissa,
listening.
too.
So, one thing I really wanted to point out, and I know you're familiar with this, is that cultural competencies and sensitivities certainly have a place in nursing. We take for granted the fact that we can walk into a clinic or one of the hospitals here in New Providence, Bahamas, or throughout the Bahamas, and see a healthcare professional that we can relate to, someone that we naturally feel that we can trust, we feel relaxed, we feel comfortable, but more importantly, we feel as though they understand us and they see us for who we are. What has been your experience in regard to these two aspects? And does it actually make a difference?
It makes a big difference. Cultural competencies and sensitivities. I think, particularly in the Bahamas, we're kind of like the melting pot of the Caribbean. So we have so many different countries here present. And then I am a Bahamian of Haitian descent. So I speak Haitian Creole fluently. And as a kid, I remember going to the clinic or the doctor with my mom or a cousin or an aunt. I used to be rent a Haitian. I just tell everybody that. Like my family just used to say, "Oh, say Tasha, she'll translate for you." So I think that's how I end up in the clinic anyway, right? And I remember having to translate for my mom or family members to the doctor, and I always felt uncomfortable with it because it's like, as a kid, like a teenager, it's like, I don't need to know all this information. I don't want to, go back and forth between you people. Um, but what happens is, because I speak Creole fluently and most of my colleagues, most of my friends know it, I have friends when they work in the clinic or hospital or another unit and they have a client who can't speak English. They call me on my phone, and if I'm not busy, I answer and I translate back and forth for them, which actually helps make the patient comfortable. On my unit, if we have a Creole patient, I'm normally the one to translate. When the client comes in, I'm normally not afraid to let them know that I speak Creole fluently so that the way they could feel more comfortable. Because I love so many, like I love languages and I love different cultures, I take my time to try and figure out what's going on with people. And it's not just culture that comes under cultural sensitivities. You
Hmm.
look at religion, you look at race, like there's so many different determinants when you utilize that word. So when you look at it, it's like you're trying to make sure that, hey, just like how if I go to the States and I pop my eye open and they trying to serve me something that I don't want to eat because it's not something I'm used to eating, the nurses there are gonna say, you know what, Natasha, you're not from here. What is it that you prefer? It's something similar to
Love
that.
that.
And
Yeah.
I want my patients here to feel that. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
legitimately feel that, like legitimately see that, hey, my nurse cares for me. She cares about the fact that, hey, I don't like to eat grits for breakfast. Or I'm not used to eating grits for breakfast. Or that at a certain time during the day I pray because this is what my religion or religious preferences say that I should do. So like things like that, we forget that, hey, culture is so much aspects of persons, even in terms of like the way their families interact, like
Yes.
um, and even the way they look at you. Some patients are not comfortable speaking with like maybe like particularly female patients. Their culture may not allow them to really speak face to face, eye to eye with a male. So they may feel more comfortable with a female doctor and understanding that and ensuring that they are treated at the best level with the best level of care and attention.
Mm-hmm.
It's something big and it actually helps them mentally. And
Yes.
if they feel better mentally, I want you to understand that's more than half the battle because
Mm-hmm.
then your patient is gonna be more receptive to treatment. So when I coming in and I talking to you with your medication and I try and explain it to you in Creole and explaining the need to take this medication, you're more likely to do it. So that
Yes.
was something I did in the clinics with the aid secretariat. Like I would just literally explain to them, hey, you need to take your meds. If you don't take them, you can get sick and this and that and that, and explained it. Um, we were when I was there, we were given access to a lot of the infographics in Creole. So I would
Mm-hmm.
just basically, because I also not just speak it, I read it and write it. I would read it with them. We would discuss it, like, and because we were doing all of this, a lot of those patients they stopped defaulting. They started to be more adherent. So cultural sensitivity is such a broad term, but like it deals with so much. So that's how I look at it.
I really love that example you gave. Persons that don't have English as a first language, particularly Creole, and they had a complete change of mindset because they saw that you were taking the time to describe everything, walk them through it. They perhaps even now understood, what exactly is this medication? Maybe perhaps before they were just kind of given a bottle and they were like pointed at it, which means read it. And, they kind of felt really just like a number rather than a human, than a patient, than someone who's being cared for. And so you change their perspective, their mindset, and now they look forward to not only seeing you but also being much more active in their own health, which really connects to their overall healing.
It does. And then even understanding their religious practices. Some people have an issue taking medication and they prefer to do everything homeopathic. So like understanding that and being able to explain the pros and cons so they can make an informed decision also is a big aspect of that because you have to respect everyone's individual beliefs. And that's definitely cultural competencies. And I am so glad that I went to the University of the Bahamas and cultural competencies and sensitivities was like taught in every nursing class that I could think of because we were always discussing ways to mitigate non-adherence because that's one of the biggest issues in healthcare. And being culturally competent could completely affect that.
So we're taking a very short break because, of course, we have a very special message from Nurse Natasha's beautiful kids, Liam and Ariana, saying hello, watching their mom with such pride and love as she's sharing her passion with us today.
Thank you, Liam. Thank you, Ariana.
So, in regard to the cultural competencies and sensitivities, you've mentioned how it directly impacts the patients, their care overall, and seeing it from an individual perspective. How would you say it comes into play when you come up with symptoms, being able to identify things a lot sooner, or even when it comes to diagnosis? For example, here, as you know, heart disease and cancer are very prevalent within our culture. So, how exactly do these two things help to come up from a medical perspective as an advantage?
I think it's an advantage because the patients are better able to describe and they feel more comfortable with describing how they feel, what their signs and symptoms are, particularly if they can't speak English fluently or if their culture is a culture that doesn't allow them to speak to persons in certain professions head on, but like allowing them to feel comfortable, allowing them to be able to, like, for example, say, hey, I have a pain in my stomach and I've had this for 6 months. Whereas they may only be able to tell you pain because that's the only thing, or they may only be able to show you using sign language pain. But if you utilize a translator or someone that they're comfortable with, you'll be able to find out more information, which helps with diagnosis, which helps with treatment. And
Yeah.
then them being able to tell you, hey, I don't understand how to take this medication, or this medication makes me feel ill, so I don't take it because it makes me feel ill. And these are all things. And then even like particularly when dealing with mental health, a lot of times persons feel like it's witchcraft or some spiritual battle. So, like being able to discuss with people should let them understand that, hey, just like you could be ill physically, you could be ill mentally. And getting that
Mhm.
information to them in a way that's culturally competent and sensitive, and in a way that makes it more likely for them to be adherent. That's how I look at it.
Okay. Would you also say then that a nurse may be able to pick up on symptoms based on her experience from previous patients from within the Bahamian culture or within the Bahamian region?
I think nurses in general pick up on signs and symptoms, particularly when you work bedside at tertiary levels, like which would be hospitals. You know when there's something off with your patient because you know them. Like I could have a patient and because I used to have being sunny and a certain way, and then I come to work and she's a little off, I could then pick up, hey, something's wrong. And that just comes from being a nurse. Like you just know, you get to know the patient, you get to know what they're dealing with, you know, you get to know them. Like I don't know how much better to put it. And because of that, you are able to pick up quicker what potentially could be wrong with them. Like just as simple as you see them starting to sweat profusely and then you check their vitals and their vitals are off. You know what I mean? Like it's simple signs that other persons may miss, but a nurse isn't going to. Because we watching out for you when everybody else gone. Because that's what we're here for. We're here to be caregivers. We're here to actually show you how much we love and appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. Hey, and that's why you're our future.
Yes.
So we have this comment from Michelle Hanna. Cultural competency and sensitivity is important to client-centered care. In Canada, for example, they are looking for Indigenous nurses to work with tribal people to improve compliance. Wow,
I
I
love
think
that
that's
comment
important.
because if you think about it, like it makes sense. The indigenous nurses work with the persons that they are about they come from. It's kind of similar to like Muslim females becoming doctors so that they can actually take care of Muslim females because a Muslim female is not going to come to a male doctor because that's against her religious practice. You understand? So, like,
Mhm.
just like understanding ways we can improve the care of our persons, just like the aid secretariat was sending me with the nurses to go speak with the persons in Haitian Creole because they understood that, hey, me coming from this culture, me coming from this society, I have a better understanding of how to get the information to them.
Definitely. And in another way, you really don't want to exclude a certain sector
No.
of your country. I mean, you're doing it not intentionally, but by not having a representative there, they are not seen and they don't feel comfortable. They're automatically not going to come in, and it is their health that is on the line. So we have another comment, Rosemary Josie. Congratulations, Nurse Natasha Ruffin-Dean is most definitely our nurse, our future, a very intelligent and gifted individual who demonstrates caring, compassion, and commitment to her clients. Well, I don't doubt a word of it. So just putting that out there.
Thank you, Sister Josie.
You are getting a lot of support, and I am not surprised because you are so giving, so caring, and it's infectious. So, of
I
course, you're going to have a person supporting you.
thank you.
One other thing that I wanted to point out, another way that vibration is showing their support for the nurses, because I got a heads up. Royal blue is one of the colors for the nurses. So we have the royal blue in the background amidst the ambrosia of the Bahamas, just to show that representation.
Thank you. As a registered nurse, I thank you because that is our stripe, royal blue. If I was in full uniform right now, my white hat would have a royal blue stripe on it, and then I would wear a royal blue
Mm.
belt to signify that I am a registered nurse, someone who has at this moment, the entry level is associates or bachelors. But I, like you said earlier, have a bachelor's degree in nursing.
Awesome. So, Natasha, you have shared a lot with us. You've been incredibly transparent with your journey, with your original intentions, which is so relatable because a lot of us, the career that we're in now wasn't the one that we started off with. And yet it's as if life began to write itself. This plan just unfolded, and we found ourselves in our passion doing something incredible. So, what would you say to a young man or woman? Because there are male nurses, you don't
Yeah.
hear about them, but they're there. What would you say to a young man or woman who is interested in nursing and representing their country in healthcare?
I'd say do it. There's no time like the present to do it. I don't want you to think of your age. Don't think of your race. Don't think of your social class. Don't think of your socioeconomic status. There is nothing that can stop you from achieving the goal you have. Like I'm sure you said before on your show, set goals, make them smart, sustainable, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time centered. So just set goals. When I went back at 29 to get my degree, um, I literally sat down and I set my goals straight up. I literally lined it up how I was gonna do it, which classes I was gonna take. And I was like, Lord, if this is what you want me to do, no failures, no repeats. And he did it. There were no failures, no repeats. I graduated with honors. If I could do it, anybody could do it. And I always tell my friends and family that, like anybody who comes to me, girl, I want to go back to school, but I ain't sure. Whatever degree they want to do, girl, go do it. So go do it. In no time, like the present. And then there's this quote by Audrey Hepburn. It says, nothing is impossible. The word itself says, I'm possible. And if you think
Mm.
about it, it literally says it. And even the scripture text that says, with God, nothing shall be impossible. And that's how I live my life. Nothing is impossible. I live my life knowing that with faith, everything I want, God is going to bring to me. He's going to allow it to come to pass. And it has not been an easy journey. I'm not going to lie about that. It has been rough. There have been times I was up crying because I'm like, Lord, I don't want to do this no more. Or people would say things like, "Oh, you're too old to do this. You should leave that for the younger persons." Or you have too much going on. You need to just give up. And that hurt. But I said, you know what? I know what my goals are.
Mm-hmm.
I know where I want to be in 5 years, and I know where I want to be in 10 years. And this is the path I need to get to those places. Don't let anybody deter you. This is the same thing I tell my nursing cadets and my nursing interns. Don't let nobody deter you. It's gonna be rough. It's not gonna be easy. No degree you do is gonna be easy. You have to decide how hard you're gonna work at it. And I think because now I'm a member of a sorority, Zeta Phi Beta, and one of our core principles is scholarship. I am even more pushing, like, I want to see as much women get their degrees as possible, as much young men
Yes.
get their degrees as possible. Because guess what? You can only lift yourself up by actually opening your mind.
Yeah.
So go ahead, get the degree. It's no time like the present. So if you ain't on it yet, go get it. I mean, this also for me because I keep saying I want to do this master's and this PhD and ask me if I did the application yet. But we ain't talking about these
Baby
guys.
steps. Thank you for that. I know that anyone watching who has dreamed about a nursing career, admired those from the sidelines, will truly take to heart the message that you just shared. Because it's very easy to fall into comparison, whether it's with our own family, if we're thinking about, our high school class or just those on social media, and feel as though we cannot make a difference. But you can be a part of, the nursing section that is doing an incredible part in the Bahamas, around the world. You can start today. No
Yes,
special age. Start today.
yes, today.
Natasha, you have continued to do incredible work before you started nursing, and when nursing came, you exploded with all of the different activities that you were doing, which is certainly very commendable. You mentioned volunteering with the Sandilands Rehabilitation Center, your church, other ways that persons can give back. So of course, we want to know, how can we show our support, and what is next for you?
If you want to show your support to your nurses, this is International Nurses Week. We like teens too, so Starbucks gift certificates, Dunkin' Donuts gift certificates, whatever. We accept them, okay? If there's a nurse that you ever message, hey, what you think I should do about this? Send them a $5 gift certificate, because that's your person, your go-to person, and I know about that because I always get them messages in my phone. And I want you to remember, like, just show appreciation when you are treated like extra special. Like, a lot of times we do these things for other persons and other professionals and professions, and we forget about the nurse that took extra time to explain that medication to you, that took the time to say, hey, you know what, if you have a little difficulty, you can call me or message me and I'll help you with this. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm not just talking about me, I'm talking about nurses in general. You could deliver flowers, you could send a gift card, send a regular card, it could be a handwritten note. All of these things we appreciate. I know our institution, our week of Nurses Week activities is next week. If you would love to show your appreciation for our mental health nurses, because hey, it's Mental Health Awareness Month and
Mhm.
it's World Nurses Month, so hey, you could do both one time. You can contact our public relations department. They're always, always, always willing to accept donations, particularly when it comes to our nurses. So anything you want to do, you guys know where to reach us. Silence Rehabilitation Center. Just a little plug there. Um, just show your nurses appreciation. Like, whoever it is in your life that's a nurse, show them appreciation. I ain't gonna lie, I like Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts anyway, because as a nurse, before I went into nursing, I never used to drink coffee like this. But since
Mhm.
I became a nurse, coffee is like the plug. So hey, gift certificates, I always love them. I always accept them. So, or John Bull too. I like nice things.
Yes, it's the thought that counts. Thank you so much for that, Natasha. Also, are there any volunteer opportunities with Sandalins?
I am not sure exactly. We're still coming back from COVID and a lot of the restrictions and stuff like that. So I would suggest that you contact the public relations department. I know we do want to start back with volunteering, particularly with our geriatrics. Like, I remember, and I used to love it, the Adopt a Grandparent program. I did that with Anchor Club in high school. Like, and I know a lot of kids have missed out on that because of COVID. So hopefully soon we'll be back with that, the adoptive grandparent. And then even if you want to, you could come, you could volunteer in other areas, maybe not direct patient care, but I wouldn't be the one to give that information. Contact the public relations department. Ms. Devalier and her team are awesome. They will help you because guess what? We always need some kind of assistance. And if you want to volunteer, you could volunteer and donate items to our clients. You know, there are all kinds of ways you could help. So just call and they'll give you an idea of what projects and programs we have at the moment.
Excellent. Is there a number handy?
The main line, 364-9600. And ask for the communications and public relations department, and they will let you know that. But that's Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, please. The hospital is open 24/7, but not every department. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. We have another special comment. And I love you message from Liam and Ariana.
I love you, Liam, and I love you, Ariana.
Nurse Natasha Rufin-Dean, you are the epitome of what nurses strive for when it comes to specialized customer care, providing those cultural competencies and sensitivities, thinking about your sisters and brothers within nursing, and always striving for more. Your passion absolutely comes through, and there are so many that you continue to impact throughout your work and your numerous volunteer hours. We appreciate you sharing your story with us today. And of course, all of your supporters that added to our lively discussion with the comments, especially from Michelle Hanna, who spoke about them looking for this exact same thing in Canada, recognizing that there is a gap. They need nurses that are indigenous to those tribes, to that region, to reach out to them, provide them with that source of healthcare, and feeling seen is something that all of us want to be able to experience, and you provide that effortlessly. We thank you, all of the nurses at the Sandilands Rehabilitation Center, and of course, the nurses throughout the Bahamas and the world for your incredible, outstanding work. As she mentioned, you're very welcome. You can get in touch with the Sandilands Rehabilitation Center when it comes to donations. They have a very active Nurses Month. Remember to keep in mind the nurse that is near and dear to your heart. If you have any initiatives or volunteering that you want to be a part of in connection to Nurse Natasha Ruffin-Dean, you can contact her at natasha.ruffin@gmail.com.
It's no dot. It's just Natasha Ruffin at gmail.com.
There you go.
No. One F.
Yes. As a reminder, this episode is proudly sponsored by Amber L. We thank our audience at YouTube and Facebook for being a part of our discussion, and of course, the nurses that logged on to support their very own. If you missed any part of this episode, you can watch the full replay on YouTube or Facebook right after we log off. We give a very special thank you to our guest speaker. She has done an incredible job. She is paying it forward. And even though this wasn't her original path, she has decided to answer the call and is continuing to flourish along her journey. I think that one of the best ways we can end this is with a comment from Michelle Hanna, who says, "Great job, Nurse Ian."
Thank you,
We
Sister
thank
Hannah.
you all. We thank you all for being here tonight and invite you to join us next week for another episode of Vibration, where we raise your frequency and amplify your truth. Bye, everyone.
Bye.